Hello and welcome to Old Ways Gardening and Prepping. My name is Teresa and I'd like to welcome you out on this chilly evening to the Shed of Many Names, where we're going to talk about an important subject that not a lot of people talk about. And it's when things go just a tad bit awry with tinctures. It's not a bad thing. But this is the rose hip tincture that I started on 3/18, so it's still fresh. Can't use it yet. But if you notice, the level of the rose hips are increasing because I started it just below here and they have increased up to here. This is one of many reasons why I don't like to use dried plant material, but this is not a bad thing. It just means that I'm going to be making 2 jars of rose hip tincture instead of 1. Because see, I filled my jar up to right here. And I have been watching the rose hips swell more and more. This was the 3-cup mark. It's almost to the 5-cup mark. So, yeah, what we're going to do, this is not a bad thing. But this is one of many reasons why it can be a struggle to use dried plant material. Now, I rarely ever use dried plant material. There are a few exceptions. Rose hips are one of them. Now, the reason why I'm going to strain this one and split this one between 2 jars is, do you see how dark red the vodka is on top? It is fully saturated with the rose hip, what it has extracted from the rose hips. Now, the rose hips are continuing to swell, but it also means that the vodka cannot absorb any more of the nutrients of the rose hips. And I do not want to waste any of the rose hips inside because they're still swelling, which means they are not done being extracted from. Now, like I said, this is not a bad thing at all. You just have to realize this can happen. And I'm fine with it happening. I prefer it not to, but it's not going to be a bad thing at all to have another half-gallon of some of the strongest vitamin C upon this planet. You see what I'm saying? It's not a bad thing. It is a bad thing if you don't go on and split this jar up, because there's going to be a lot of the medicinal benefits, the healthy benefits of the rose hips that won't be pulled out, and therefore a lot of them will be wasted. That's the bad thing. But this is actually a blessing in disguise. Now, before I do anything, make sure that your countertop is clean and sanitized. Your second jar is clean and sanitized. All the equipment you're going to use is clean and sanitized. So, we're going to do this. That's the wrong thing. Yeah, it's not a bad thing. Not a bad thing at all. It just means extra work. And I fully believe in working smarter, not harder. But I will take a blessing in disguise any day. Now the fun part is getting this out with the least amount of waste as possible. That's the hardest part, and that's the part that I do not like. Because if you see, the alcohol level has not gone down anymore, but it also means that it's not done extracting from the rose hips, because with all of these being dry, it should have been some droppage of vodka, but it hasn't been. So, of course, there's going to be some spillage, like it or not. Maybe not. I want to try to get, I'm not going to smush the rose hips yet. Not until I go to strain them. But we're saving all the rose hips, okay? I'm going to smush just a little bit, not much. Because I want to get equal amounts of the vodka out. Oops. Yeah, and I can feel right there, that rose hip is still fairly dry, which is a sign that this vodka is too saturated to pull out anymore. Like I said, it's not a bad thing, it's a blessing. And I'm going to pour 3 cups because it's at the 6 cup mark on my measuring cup. And I'm going to put 3 cups of the vodka into my jar. Okay, and there's a 3rd cup right there. You see how intense dark that is? Fully saturated. Fully saturated, and it has only been maybe 2 weeks, maybe, not even that long. Okay, and I'm going to try to get all of this back in here. Thank gracious for really thick, deep bowls. Alright, that's going to go back into this jar, because this jar doesn't need to be washed. But I am going to put the lid on that jar in case of any gnats. And I don't know if you were able to hear that, but you could tell that a lot of them are still dry by the noise that they made when they went into the measuring cup. Yep, they still have a lot of soaking to do. Now, this can happen to anybody. This can happen to somebody who's new doing it. This can happen, well, you see it happened to me, and I've been making tinctures for a very long time. Now, you don't have to try to get every single one out, or you'll drive yourself crazy, and you'll be here for way too long. Okay. I want to try to get everyone back into the pool. Those are stuck. I'm not going to push it. Now, if you notice, I have another bottle of 80 proof vodka. And that's what I'm going to use to fill both jars back up to the top. Now, like I said, these are still rehydrating. And you notice this is why I say keep your countertop clean, so if anybody jumps ship, you can put them back in the bowl. Alright, I started out with 3 cups of dried chopped rose hips. It is now up over 5 cups. That's how much they have swelled. And of course there's going to be more swelling as well. We're just going to have to keep an eye on it. Going to clean your rim off. Okay. Now, and you're not going to need the filter because, yep, I don't know why I was thinking about filtering it. Now, I'm going to fill this one back up with 2.5 cups of these rose hips. Yeah, I still got a little ways to go. And I can tell by the sound of me scooping them that, yeah, they still have quite a ways to go. Now, with that being said, you don't have to change the 8-week tincturing limit. 8 weeks time, and then it's ready. Now, if you wanted to, let it sit longer. It's not going to hurt a thing. It's, pickled, but hopefully it will calm down, and I won't have to split these off into some more jars. Not that that's a bad thing, but still. Okay. I'm going to put that lid on, move that back over there. Now, in this one, you see what I'm saying about how dark that is? That just proves to you that that vodka is fully saturated and it's not going to be able to take in anymore. Anything's just jumping everywhere. And yes, my hands were washed, so don't even worry about that. Okay. Yep, they're still dry. But like I said, just make sure that it don't have to be absolutely down to the exact ounce. But you want to try to split them up as equally as possible between both jars. Now, as you see, I started out with 2 half-gallon jars. If you made a quart jar, you're going to want to use a second quart jar, because a half-gallon jar will be just way too much. Okay. Now, so I don't get things mixed up, that looks like really, really strong tea and or coffee. And that tells me exactly that there is no more room in that alcohol. You see how dark that is? And it's kind of thick as well, which means that that vodka is totally saturated. Now, take your 80 proof vodka, because that's what we started out with. Come on. And I'm going to fill it up to the rim. And I'm going to need some more. That was a brand new bottle, too. Alright, give me a minute. I'll be right back. I had to go dig out my leftover spare bottle of 80 proof. This is why you save all your alcohol. Because I could have swore that bottle was going to fill up both these jars. Not. Okay, now, let's set that over there. Let's get these lids and bands on. Not too tight, but tight enough. Alright, you're going to want to agitate it. I always love to watch it. Reminds me of the old-fashioned snow globes. And you want to do this to make sure that there's no air bubbles in there. Like I said, it reminds me of the old-fashioned snow globes. You want to wait till it settles down. Check levels. Level 5. That one's already labeled. Okay, it has lightened up a little bit, so that'll give it some more room to pull. And never dull moment, folks. That's why I tell you, check on your tinctures every day, every other day. I've been watching this one for a while. All right. It's still up to the top. And we're going to label this one. Rosehip Tincture. 3/18/23. I need to tighten this lid down some more. Okay, now, with it being so freshly started, I'm not going to restart the date because it still has about 7.5 weeks or so more to go. It's not going to really matter. But this is how you fix, especially when you're using dried plant material. This is why I don't use much at all. But we're going to keep an eye on the rosehip levels. There was quite a few. Yes, they were wet on the outside, but when I dumped them in, I could tell by the sound. I've been doing it too long, y'all. Pay attention to your tinctures. I could tell by the sound of the rose hips that they were still dry in the center. Now, these might start swelling again. They're not fermenting, y'all. They're not fermenting. What they are doing is rehydrating. And what happens, the process is it will soak in the vodka and it will keep recycling. It will soak in the vodka and it'll release it. Soak in, release it. We're going to keep watching it. It's at the 2.5 cup mark now. If it starts getting close, wrong side. It's at the 2.5 cup mark level now. If it starts getting close to 4, I might think about breaking it down some more. It all depends, and if I do, I'll bring y'all along. Simple, easy, it's nothing to be worried about. But what you do want to do is make sure you get the most out of the material that you use to make your tinctures. I could have left it completely alone, but I would have lost over half of the medicinal benefits still trapped in the rose hip, the chopped rose hips. And, well, I recycle my plant material. I don't run them through for a second time because that weakens your batch. This way, I know that they both have the same amount of vodka that was already starting a tincture. They both have the same amount of the fresh vodka added, and they both have the same amount of the rose hips. So all we're going to do is keep an eye on them and see how it progresses. Like I said, if it gets back up to the 4-inch mark, because we're at 2.5, No, 2.5 cups. If we get up to the 4 cup mark, or it tries to go over that, then I'm going to probably split it again. We shall see. But simple, easy, you can do this. And I know a lot of people don't tell people about this, and I know it happens to a lot of people. It's nothing to be worried about. Your tincture, perfectly fine. Nothing's wrong with it, not whatsoever. You just been blessed with extra tincture. And with this being rosehip tincture, oh yes, it's a massive blessing. Very, very massive blessing. So instead of having a half a gallon of tincture, I got a gallon. Fine with me. Means we're not going to run out of vitamin C. We're going to keep our immune system built, and we're not going to get scurvy no time soon. You can do this. Just keep an eye. That's why I tell everybody every day, every other day, agitate gently your tinctures. Check on the vodka level. Check on the color. And if it gets way too dark, it just means you need to split it up. And you saw how I split it up. Anybody can do this. And yes, you can too. I hope this encourages you to become more in tune with your tinctures when you're making them. Pay attention, because they'll speak to you. And you'll know when, hey, I need to be split up. I'm running a little too strong. Simple, easy. You can do it. You just have to believe in yourself. I look forward to seeing y'all in my next video. Stay safe, stay sound, and stay warm, y'all. And remember to believe in yourself. You got this. And together we will survive and make it through it. Continue to work on your pantries. Food that is sustainable for your body, nutrition-wise. Not much junk stuff, y'all. Try to avoid the junk stuff. Continue to work on your medicines. Stock up your protection and other important things that you will need. Y'all take care. May you each be blessed, and I'll see you soon.